From laminating layers of butter and pastry to make croissants, to lifting a Phyllo sheet as thin as paper, baking is full of challenges. We met with master bakers around the world to see how they make their signature breads. Our journey starts in Paris, where Mahmoud M'seddi welcomes us into his bakery.
Baguettes. Can you name a more quintessential French food? The recipe is quite simple. You just need flour, water, yeast and salt. Yet here in France, it's not just any loaf of bread that anybody can make at home. We're in Paris, in the 14th district, and we're about to meet with Mahmoud M'seddi. He's an artisanal baker, son of a baker, who's been making bread basically ever since he can remember. This is his shop. Let's walk in.
Mahmoud is a master of bread. Look at this giant loaf! He even won an award for the best baguette in Paris. What he's going to show us is not your average baguette, but the baguette tradition, which is a baguette made on site with simple ingredients.
La baguette tradition est différente parce qu'elle a un procédé différent des autres pains en fait. C'est quelque chose qu'on ne peut pas faire vite. Si on ne respecte pas le temps, eh ben, on n'aura jamais une bonne tradition. Et c'est pour ça qu'elle est unique et c'est pour ça aussi qu'elle est connue.
Making a baguette is much more complex and time-consuming than you'd think. Every step requires inside knowledge, skill and expertise. It all starts with the dough. Mahmoud starts making the dough at 5 a.m. with only flour and water. Kneads it, then at 8 a.m. he adds yeast and salt and water again.
L'eau c'est pour par exemple contrôler la température. Si par exemple ma pâte est trop froide, je vais rajouter de l'eau chaude. Si elle est trop chaude, je vais rajouter de l'eau froide. Ça me permet de récupérer en fait, d'avoir à chaque fois la température la même tous les jours. Donc, donne un gant à madame. Mais touchez. Vous allez voir, elle est très froide.
Oh ouais,
Vous avez vu?
très très froid.
Voilà. C'est pour ça que nous, on va mettre de l'eau chaude ici. Parce que aujourd'hui, il fait très froid. Et nous, on pétrit dans la boulangerie, pas au sous-sol. La plupart des boulangeries, ils pétrissent au sous-sol. Donc, il fait souvent chaud au sous-sol. Mais nous, non, on est obligé de s'adapter parce que s'il fait froid, eh ben, ma pâte va être trop froide. S'il fait très chaud, ma pâte va être très chaude. Donc, je vais devoir à chaque fois réajuster. Okay. Je m'adapte en fonction du temps, en fait, the weather.
Sa pâte, elle a reposé pour
3 heures, c'est ça. Donc, elle prend la température extérieure.
Parfait. Est-ce qu'il y a une température idéale ou...
Oui, à la sortie, 24. Quand je sors ma pâte, l'idéal c'est 24 degrés. Le plus important, c'est le mélange. Si on réussit le mélange, on réussit toute la production. Il faut que la pâte soit lisse.
On ne pourrait jamais ajouter tous les ingrédients comme ça, tout ensemble.
Bah, c'est déconseillé. C'est comme la cuisine ou les gâteaux, on ne met jamais tout d'un coup. On surveille toujours le mélange et on réajuste à chaque fois. Parce que ce qui compte, c'est le résultat. Déjà, on entend les bulles. Il commence à...
You can hear the sounds of the dough.
Je ne sais pas si vous entendez les bulles s'éclater. Cloc.
Combien de temps il faut, selon vous, pour apprendre à connaître la pâte?
Moi, j'ai eu la chance, c'est que mon père, il est boulanger. Donc j'ai grandi dans le milieu. Donc je l'ai regardé quand j'étais petit travailler. Donc c'est devenu une habitude maintenant. Mais sinon, un bon boulanger, il lui faut au moins 10 ans d'expérience. Voilà.
Et vous m'avez juste dit que vous êtes en train d'ouvrir une autre boulangerie au Canada.
Oui.
Est-ce qu'il y a... Bon, bien sûr, il y a des différences de température.
Oui, ça va être nouveau pour moi. Ça sera une expérience pour moi. Je sais qu'il fait très très froid au Canada, que par exemple, il y a des jours où il fait moins 10, moins 20 peut-être. On n'a jamais ça à Paris. Donc ça va être nouveau pour moi. Il va falloir faire chauffer l'eau avec la casserole. Donc là, vous voyez, elle ne colle pas sur le bord. C'est arrondi. Vous pouvez toucher. C'est mou et à la fois ferme.
Ok. Oh, ouais, c'est vrai. L'extérieur, c'est très ferme, mais on a...
Et en même temps, c'est comme une balle.
Oui,
Voilà.
Oui.
Vous pouvez taper, vous voyez, c'est dur et en même temps, c'est mou.
Oui. C'est vraiment comme ça.
Oui. Donc ça veut dire que mon réseau, il est constitué et en même temps, c'est moelleux. Donc là, à la fin, je vais avoir une tradition avec une belle croûte parce qu'elle est dure et en même temps, ça sera moelleux à l'intérieur. Ça, c'est très très bien. Donc nous, on va mettre un petit coup de deuxième pour lui donner un peu plus de force. Vous entendez? Là, il y a des bulles d'air qui se forment et elles vont éclater. Et c'est comme ça qu'on sait que la pâte, elle est prête. Donc là, vous avez vu, ça colle. Là. Voilà. On va la laisser se reposer. Là, il y a une bulle d'air. C'est ce qu'on trouve dans les tradis après. Voilà, on va trouver. Et donc, ce qui fait la différence, c'est qu'il y a beaucoup de gens qui ont des bulles d'air, soit toutes petites. Moi, on va avoir toutes les tailles. Vous allez voir après, quand on ouvrira une, on aura des petites, des grosses, des moyennes, toutes les tailles.
Est-ce qu'il y a un message
Quand c'est petit, c'est comme tout le monde. Quand c'est irrégulier, c'est personnel. C'est pour ça que la tradie, on la trouve. La mienne, on ne peut pas la trouver ailleurs.
Vous ne pouvez pas contrôler la taille des bulles d'air?
Je ne peux pas le contrôler, mais je peux faire en sorte d'avoir des bulles irrégulières. Ça, c'est un de mes secrets, ça.
When the dough is ready, it rests for 1 hour. Then it is taken out in small batches.
Donc les gens font avec la farine, nous on fait avec l'eau. C'est plus propre et c'est les anciennes méthodes.
Pourquoi pas de farine? Parce qu'on va
meilleur.
modifier l'harmonie des ingrédients.
Si on fait avec la farine, on va baisser le taux d'hydratation. Donc c'est comme si on aura mis moins d'eau parce qu'on aura augmenté de la farine. Quand on farine, quand on sort avec la farine, tous ces petits gestes, si à chaque fois on met de la farine, eh ben on va perdre en hydratation et donc on aura moins de bulles. On va casser en fait le réseau à chaque fois. Donc c'est pour ça qu'on fait avec de l'eau pour protéger le réseau au maximum. Regardez, vous avez vu les bulles?
Oui.
Elles sont déjà là.
Ok.
Et c'est pas les mêmes tailles. Ça, c'est ce qu'on va retrouver dans le pain après. Et donc là, on retrouve, comme tout à l'heure, c'est bombé et en même temps...
The batches of dough will be left to rest until the following day, while batches from the day before are going to be cut in pieces and shaped. This is when the dough starts to resemble a baguette.
On peut le faire à la main, mais ça prend beaucoup de temps.
Ok.
Et quand on fait à la main, on chauffe la pâte.
Ah oui, c'est vrai.
Et donc ça fait qu'on devra faire attention à la température, respecter que ce soit bien frais, parce que justement, on a chauffé la pâte. Et le problème de la main, c'est que ce ne sera pas droit. Il y aura des coups plus gros, plus fins, plus gros, plus fins. Ça dépend en fait de la pression qu'on met pour la faire. C'est pour ça que la machine, ça permet d'être régulier.
Et ça, c'est du coton?
C'est de la toile.
Ah, ok.
Il y a des gens qui dessinent sur ça.
Ah, ok, oui.
Voilà,
Bien sûr.
oui.
Et pourquoi utilisez-vous ça?
Parce que ça ne colle pas. Et puis, s'il y a de l'humidité dans l'air ou dans la machine, et ben, ça va protéger la baguette. Le tissu, il va boire l'humidité.
Et donc, la différence entre la baguette traditionnelle et la baguette, c'est qu'on utilise la pâte d'aujourd'hui?
Non, la baguette, elle est faite le jour même. Elle ne se repose pas. La tradie, elle se repose. Voilà. Donc, on met des rangées de 6. C'est l'idéal. Quand c'est trop serré, ça va mal cuire. Elle va tomber parce qu'il n'y aura pas assez de chaleur entre les tradis. Et puis, quand c'est trop espacé, ça cuit trop vite à l'extérieur et pas assez à l'intérieur. Donc, c'est pour ça qu'il faut trouver le bon rendement, en fait.
Vous utilisez cet outil en,
Oui, une
en
planche.
bois, en planche en bois?
Oui.
Parce qu'on pourrait jamais le faire avec les mains.
Alors, en fait, la tradie, c'est l'un des pains les plus fragiles. Parce que c'est pour ça que ça demande beaucoup de temps de repos. C'est très délicat la tradition. Donc, pour protéger le réseau, les bulles d'air, en fait, au maximum, l'alvéolage, on est obligé de les prendre à la planche. Il faut être très délicat.
Parce que comme ça, on respecte la forme.
Plus on fait attention à la tradie, plus elle sortira bombée. Voilà. Maintenant, on va donner un coup de lame pour la dégazer et puis pour l'esthétique aussi. Voilà. Soit on met un coup de lame, c'est ce que fait Mourad. Moi, j'aime bien mettre 4 ou 5. Voilà.
Est-ce qu'il y a une règle ou c'est juste un dessin
Alors, il y a une règle.
personnel?
Il faut de préférence donner au milieu. Et puis ensuite, il ne faut pas appuyer. Il faut avoir une lame qui coupe bien. C'est pour ça que j'ai plein de bobos partout. Et puis plus on coupera bien, plus la grille, c'est-à-dire que c'est ce qu'on verra à la fin, c'est ça la grille. Ça c'est la grille. Ça coupe. Si on fait ça, mon gant il va se trouver.
One batch of dough will make about 20 baguettes, and about 200 baguettes will come out from the whole of the dough.
La température est-elle importante aussi?
270. C'est important, oui. Si c'est pas assez chaud, ça sera plat. Si c'est trop chaud, ça va cramer trop vite. C'est pour ça que tout le monde pense que c'est facile de faire du pain, mais faire du bon pain, voire du très bon pain ou de l'excellent pain, c'est très difficile. Ça a bien gonflé,
Ça a
hein?
bien gonflé.
C'est bon, vas-y, allez, vas-y, sors. Voilà, c'est joli. Voilà,
Ça fait juste 20 minutes. Non.
moins 19.
Moins 19, ok.
Voilà, là on a une belle green. It's very hot.
Est-ce qu'on cherche un son particulier?
On sent que ça croustille bien, donc c'est que la croûte est bien épaisse. Et puis en même temps, on sent que c'est moelleux. C'est ça le pire. C'est que quand on touche, c'est moelleux, mais en même temps, ça fait un bruit de craquement. Elle a gardé sa forme.
C'est
Elle
vrai.
n'est pas restée aplatie, elle a gardé sa forme. Voilà. Donc vous avez vu les bulles, c'est pas la même taille. Donc on a toutes les tailles. Petites, grandes, moyennes. La mi teint vers le jaune. Ça c'est dû à la fermentation. Et puis donc on a une croûte qui est assez épaisse, assez dure. Et à l'intérieur, c'est très moelleux, très tendre. Et là, on sent bien le froment, le blé français. Vous voulez sentir?
Oui. Waouh.
Vous pouvez toucher, hein, vous allez voir, c'est très moelleux.
Ah oui, c'est vrai. So soft inside.
Voilà.
Wow.
Et là, c'est très dur. Ouais.
Voilà.
Il y a aussi quelque chose qu'on peut faire, ça, quand on voit ça, c'est que c'est très aéré à l'intérieur. On arrive à voir à travers.
Donc il y a de l'espace pour la lumière de
Voilà.
passer.
C'est quand on a ça, c'est qu'on a un réseau de bulles à l'intérieur.
Waouh,
Quand on voit la lumière.
incroyable.
Il faut qu'il fasse un petit peu plus sombre parce qu'il y a beaucoup de lumière ici. Si j'éteins la lumière,
Wow.
vous avez vu? C'est beau, hein? C'est pour ça que la tradi, elle est bonne à manger, même pour la digestion. Elle est facile à digérer. Contrairement aux autres pains, on a beaucoup de mie et donc on se sent lourd. Alors que la tradi, non. Vous voyez, il n'y a rien. Il n'y a rien dedans.
Parce que la baguette c'est très grand, mais en fait
Ouais.
et c'est
Il y a
plein
rien.
d'air.
Il y a plein d'air dedans. Voilà. Quand c'est bien fait, hein. Quand c'est pas très bien fait, on a beaucoup de mie dedans et on retrouve pas après là ce qu'on va voir les bulles. Voilà.
Wow.
Ça, on le retrouve pas si la lumière ne passe pas. On aura des mie et c'est pas bon pour la digestion.
Ça serait blanche.
Oui.
Ah.
Vous avez vu les belles alvéoles?
Yes, c'est vrai, ce sont tous irréguliers.
C'est ça. Ça, c'est ma signature. Vous voulez goûter? Il est temps, hein? Voilà.
Ah, merci. Pour vous aussi.
Merci. Donc là, on sent bien le blé. Et quand on touche, c'est humide. On dirait que c'est mouillé.
Ah, ok, c'est vrai en fait.
Ouais, on dirait que c'est mouillé.
Ça c'est l'air qui lui
C'est
donne cette,
l'eau aussi que je mets dans le pain. Donc le taux d'hydratation que j'avais dit tout à l'heure,
Ok.
si on réussit à le préserver, et ben ça fait qu'on a une mie qui est humide. Donc c'est croquant, à la fois moelleux, et ça fond dans la bouche en fait.
Il n'y a pas de mie agressive, non. C'est très léger.
Ça fond.
Vous faites le boulanger depuis combien de temps?
Écoutez, ça fait, on va dire, 28 ans, depuis que je suis né en fait. Mon père est boulanger depuis Depuis 30 ans, il est boulanger. Donc j'ai grandi à côté de lui. Je me réveillais déjà à 4 heures quand j'étais tout petit. Hein. Je descendais avec lui à la boulangerie. Et donc il m'a transmis sa passion. J'ai appris à travers lui.
Et après, vous avez décidé d'ouvrir votre boulangerie
Alors, j'ai d'abord fait des études. J'ai fait un bac S, option maths. Et ensuite, j'ai fait une prépa et puis une licence de chimie. Et en même temps, j'ai travaillé avec mon père toujours. Je me réveillais à 4 heures.
Wow.
À 7 heures, je prenais une douche et je partais à la fac.
Est-ce qu'il faut, vraiment une connaissance de la chimie ou...
Ça m'a aidé. En fait, la chimie, la prépa, toutes mes études m'ont permis de mieux comprendre ce que je fais en fait. Parce que je sais qu'il y a des réactions qui se passent, il y a des choses qui sont importantes, des détails. Les pesées, les dosages, les mélanges, tout ça, c'est des choses qui font partie de la chimie que nous, on nous a enseignées, qui ont une importance énorme. Alors que je pense que certains boulangers n'ont pas cette notion d'importance pour ce genre de détails. J'ai des amis qui me disent je suis le boulanger chimiste. Ils m'ont donné un surnom.
J'ai vu ici que vous avez les deux drapeaux.
Oui.
Est-ce qu'il est important pour vous d'avoir ce double héritage?
Oui. Pour moi, c'est une chance d'avoir deux nationalités, deux cultures différentes. Le fait d'être tunisien et d'être aussi français, et puis d'arriver là où je suis, d'être l'un des meilleurs boulangers de Paris, il n'y a pas mieux, il n'y a pas mieux. Je suis très fier.
Flaky layers, lots of butter, and a delicate crunch. These are what makes a freshly baked croissant absolutely irresistible.
It's a beautiful morning in Nice on the French Riviera, and I can't imagine a better way to start my day than having a croissant. I personally cannot imagine anything more French than a perfectly laminated dough, and if you know the series well, butter, lots of butter. We're going to find out more.
I know we promised you butter, and we'll get to that in a bit. But aren't you curious to learn how croissants get their perfect flaky layers? Sit tight, because it's going to take 3 days. At least, that's what happens in real life. Luckily for you, we're here to speed things up. Day 1 is the day of the dough. We need sugar, salt, water, yeast, leftover dough, and flour.
Là, on a deux types de farine. J'ai ce qu'on appelle la farine de tradition française. C'est une farine qui ne contient pas d'additifs. Et ici, j'ai de la farine de gruau. Elle est fabriquée à partir de blés qui vont donner plus de force à la pâte. C'est ce qu'on appelle des blés de force. C'est ce qui va permettre d'avoir plus d'élasticité et une meilleure tenue de la pâte en fin de pétrissage.
Pouvez m'expliquer la différence entre la pâte à croissant et tous les autres types de pâtes? Quelle est la particularité de la pâte à croissant?
Alors, la pâte à croissant, elle fait partie de ce qu'on appelle la famille pâte feuilletée fermentée. C'est une pâte qui, d'un côté, va donner du feuilleté, du croustillant aux produits qu'on va fabriquer avec, et d'un autre côté, on aura une pousse, une fermentation, comme le pain.
This dough contains 8 kilos of flour and will make about 240 croissants. And this is only 1/3 of the daily production here at Boulangerie Roi Le Capitole, where over 1,000 croissants a day are churned out during the weekend. Frederic even supplies the most prestigious hotel in Nice, the Negresco. The dough kneads for 12 to 14 minutes, just enough to gain elasticity, but not too much to heat up and kickstart the fermentation process too soon. This, in baker terms, is called preserving the gluten network. It's what Frederic is showing me here. The dough is not breaking nor stretching. Once it has been divided into pâtons, which literally means pieces of dough, it is placed in the fridge and left until tomorrow. Day 2 is the day of the butter. Our favorite ingredient will take up as much as 30% of the croissant pastry, but butter is not mixed with the dough. The two have to be perfectly layered.
Une couche de beurre, une couche de pâte, une couche de beurre. Donc si le beurre est trop mou, il va se mélanger à la pâte, et à l'inverse, s'il est trop dur et que la pâte est molle, on a le même phénomène, c'est le phénomène inverse, mais tout se mélange. Okay. Donc si on a une consistance de pâte relativement ferme et que le beurre est ferme, rien ne va se mélanger, on va pouvoir conserver les couches de feuilleté au fur et à mesure que l'on va évoluer dans le travail.
This is how lamination works. The layers are achieved by, you guessed it, folding the dough and butter over and over again. To do that, there are two kinds of folds or turns. A single fold, where the dough is folded in thirds like an envelope, gives 3 layers, whereas a double fold, where both ends meet in the middle and then are folded again like a book, gives 4 layers. A baker can choose whichever technique they prefer. Frédéric starts with a single fold, single again, and then double.
Donc là, si vous avez observé, quand j'ai démarré, donc j'ai replié la pâte avec le beurre au milieu, ce qui nous faisait 3 couches. Là, je viens de la plier en 3. Donc 3 fois 3, ça nous fait 9 couches. Ce qui veut dire que déjà là, on a 9 couches, pâte, beurre, pâte, beurre, pâte, beurre. Là, on en est déjà à 9. Donc là, je viens d'en rajouter 2. Et là, j'en rajoute encore 1, 2, 3, 4. On a bien 4 couches. Donc j'en avais 9 tout à l'heure. Maintenant, 4 x 9, 36. On a 36 couches.
Un bon croissant, faut qu'il ait au moins combien de couches?
Entre 3 et 4.
Ok, donc 36, c'est...
Il y en a qui vont donner 50, tout dépend. Moi, je donne un tour double, un tour simple. D'autres vont donner 3 tours simples. J'ai des collègues qui font 2 tours doubles. Et on n'a pas le même nombre de feuilles à la fin. À moins on va donner de couches, à plus les feuilles du croissant vont être épaisses. Moi, je veux que quand on croque dedans, ça soit facile à manger, que les croûtes ne soient pas trop dures, que les différentes couches ne soient pas trop épaisses. Donc c'est pour ça que je travaille de cette façon-là.
As the lamination process heats it up, Frédéric puts the dough in the fridge for half an hour to keep it cold. Keeping the dough cold and firm is essential for what comes next, cutting it in the tiny triangles that will be our croissants.
Est-ce qu'il y a un épaisseur précis?
Ah oui, absolument. C'est-à-dire que là, comme on fait du croissant, si j'étalais trop fin, je prendrais le risque d'écraser les différentes couches de beurre et de pâte. Donc, il serait moins feuilleté. Là, pour les croissants, je passe à 4 mm et demi 2 fois.
Donc, ça vous permet de rouler le croissant sans l'écraser.
Et absolument.
Vous n'avez pas une moule?
Non, c'est les yeux, le moule.
Quand le croissant a cette forme de demi-lune.
Oui, absolument. Ça vient donc d'Autriche. Lorsqu'il y a eu l'attaque des Ottomans, c'est un boulanger qui était en train de travailler la nuit, qui a déclenché l'alerte et qui a empêché l'invasion. Pour fêter ça, ils ont créé une sorte de pain en forme de lune. Alors, sur la forme, ça ressemble au croissant. Par contre, ce n'est pas du tout le croissant tel qu'on le connaît aujourd'hui. C'est bel et bien les Français qui ont créé cette pâte feuilletée avec le beurre qui est devenu le croissant tel qu'on le connaît aujourd'hui.
Donc c'est vraiment la forme qui est restée.
Voilà.
Pour le beurre. Donc vous y croyez à l'histoire que la forme du croissant vient d'Autriche. Vous n'avez aucun problème avec
Non.
devant la caméra.
Aucun.
Non.
Aucun.
Et là, est-ce qu'il y a une technique particulière aussi pour rouler un croissant?
Il y a 2 techniques. Soit les rouler comme je suis en train de faire, comme ça, soit dans l'autre sens. Il y en a qui vont le prendre dans ce sens-là et qui vont l'étaler en le poussant. Il n'y a qu'une chose qui est importante, c'est le résultat.
Bien sûr.
Le résultat est important.
Prends ici.
Ouais, n'importe où vous voulez. Il faut déjà tirer dessus comme ça pour le rallonger. En descendant avec la main comme ça. Voilà. Et après on le pose, on l'écarte et on roule.
Ok. Ah. C'est joli, hein? Ça a des oreilles. On sent le beurre sur le nom.
Eh oui, c'est normal.
Donc il faut aller vite, sinon le croissant ne...
La chaleur des mains fait fondre le beurre.
Et vous voulez toujours garder la pâte froide. Oui.
Voilà.
En fait, c'est très froid.
You may think the croissants are ready to be baked, but we actually need to wait another 15 hours for that to happen. Following Frédéric's step-by-step process really made me appreciate how much time and energy goes into producing the perfect product. Do you remember the baguette tradition?
This type of baguette, by French law, has to be made on-site with simple ingredients. Well, for the last 4 years, Frédéric has been campaigning to get croissants the same protection.
Puisqu'en France, on a une loi pour le pain. Le pain, dès lors qu'on a une enseigne boulangerie-pâtisserie, doit être pétri, façonné et cuit sur place. Par contre, pour la viennoiserie et la pâtisserie, il n'existe rien. J'ai interpellé le Premier ministre français sur la nécessité de créer une appellation tradition pour le croissant artisanal. Le croissant étant l'emblème français de la viennoiserie, si on avait la même chose, ça serait une forme de reconnaissance pour les artisans et une garantie de qualité pour le consommateur. Il faut absolument repérer de vrais artisans et en faire parler autour de soi.
It's day 3 of our croissants. 3, like how they grow 3 times their size when they are baked.
Et donc là maintenant, ils sont prêts à être cuits, mais avant de les passer au four, on va les dorer. C'est-à-dire que c'est un mélange de jaune d'œuf et d'eau qui va permettre au croissant d'avoir un peu plus de croustillant, mais surtout d'avoir une croûte bien dorée et ça leur permet de briller.
Ils ont reposé au chaud, pas vraiment dans les fours, mais au chaud, parce qu'on voit un peu la beurre
qui a légèrement fondu, absolument, parce que pendant 10-11 heures, on était en froid à 4-5 degrés, et ensuite on est monté à 25-26 degrés, puisque c'est sous l'action de la chaleur que les levures vont vraiment s'exprimer. C'est la levure qui va manger le sucre et tous les corps sucrés qu'il y a à l'intérieur du croissant et fabriquer du gaz carbonique. C'est les petits trous qu'on voit après à l'intérieur, que ce soit dans le pain, dans les croissants. C'est la mécanique naturelle de la fermentation.
Donc il faut attendre beaucoup de temps et progresser la température lentement.
Alors qu'on travaille des levures, c'est le temps qui va faire la qualité du produit.
Vous avez une pizza, non?
Ah non, ça c'est une pelle à plaque. La pelle à pizza est beaucoup plus large.
Oui.
Donc là, ça va être pour mettre les plaques jusqu'au fond du four.
Oui.
On peut mettre 4 plaques.
4 plaques, voilà. Combien de croissants il y a-t-il dans ces plaques?
15. Donc là, on va en mettre 60.
Pour la cuisson, à quelle température
On est à 215 degrés et on va les faire cuire entre 15 et 17 minutes.
Après, c'est beaucoup plus long de la pizza.
Oui, le four à pizza est beaucoup plus chaud.
Oui, c'est vrai. Mais la technique, c'est la même.
Oui, le coup de pelle.
Et ici, on est à Nice, près de l'Italie.
Absolument.
On partage un peu les...
C'est nos voisins. Ce sont nos voisins.
Voilà, ce sont très très jolis. Hein?
Ben là, ils sont bons. Là, je suis assez satisfait parce que si on prend un croissant, le but recherché, c'est d'avoir du croustillant à l'extérieur et du moelleux à l'intérieur. Donc, si on regarde et qu'on écoute, on a un bon feuilleté et donc un très bon moelleux également. On croustille et on est moelleux. Donc là, on a un croissant au beurre qui va faire que le client va vraiment se régaler avec, hein, parce que là on a une belle mie, bien jaune, bien beurrée. Donc, je suis content.
Est-ce que vous essayez l'autre côté?
Vous voulez essayer l'autre côté? Allez.
Bien sûr.
C'est bon quand c'est chaud.
C'est frais, c'est chaud, c'est frais.
Là c'est royal, à la sortie du four.
C'est fantastique. C'est 9 heures. Vous n'avez pas vraiment commencé votre journée avec le croissant.
Alors, on va dire que ceux-là sont terminés. Maintenant, il va être temps que je commence ceux pour demain. Puisque ceux de demain seront préparés aujourd'hui pour avoir au moins 15 heures de fabrication avant qu'on les mette au four. Ils auront eu 15 heures de repos. Et c'est l'avantage que les artisans ils ont sur les industriels, c'est que les industriels n'ont pas le temps. Donc, ils ne pourront jamais égaler une saveur gustative d'un croissant artisanal, ni les valeurs nutritives, que ce soit pour le pain, pour le croissant ou pour la viennoiserie, que nous, on obtient. Parce que nous, on prend le temps de faire les choses vraiment comme elles doivent être faites. Et ça, c'est le plus important, le temps. Tout est une question de temps.
Today we're in Genoa on the Italian Riviera. This city is famous for many things like its ancient port, the aquarium, but most of all, focaccia bread. And here it's eaten at pretty much any time of the day. You can have it for breakfast, as a snack, for lunch, for dinner, and even as dessert with Nutella. So you know what? It's time. Oh, I don't care what time of the day it is. It's just time for focaccia. Let's go and see how it's made.
The old town is scattered with bakeries churning fresh focaccia at every hour of the day. While you may be tempted to stop at the first shop that you see, we're taking you to one of the oldest bakeries in Genoa, Antico Forno della Casana. Behind this busy focaccia counter is Ivan Sacchi, who has been making focaccia since 1985 and has never abided by a set recipe.
Ogni giorno noi usciamo di casa e guardiamo il cielo e vediamo che tempo fa. E a seconda del tempo e poi la temperatura la percepisci sulla pelle e lavori di conseguenza.
Despite being a quick eat, making focaccia is far from a speedy process. It requires long leavening times between each step. These range between 10 minutes and 2 hours. The process starts with Ivan making the dough and then kneading it.
Gli ingredienti dentro l'impastatrice sono farina, olio, strutto, sale, malto, lievito di birra e lievito madre. Acqua senz'altro perché senza l'acqua.
La quantità di ingredienti è una cosa che avete imparato voi?
Sì, è una cosa che ci insegnano e poi da mano a mano che la fai tua te la regoli come ti viene bene secondo la tua persona e secondo il tuo bisogno. Il tempo influisce, anche la farina fa la sua differenza perché a volte ci sono farine più umide o meno umide, più forti o meno forti. Adesso tra un po' dovrebbe partire in seconda.
E qui quanto manca?
Manca poco, adesso pochi minuti la tiriamo su. Perché adesso comanda lei, non comando più io. Okay.
Adesso è pronta?
Ora bisogna tirarla su.
Ma come fa a sapere che è pronta? Cioè quando insomma ad occhio, a tatto?
È bella liscia, vede? È bella fine, non è calda quindi l'abbiamo fermata al punto giusto. Deve essere bella elastica.
Super elastica.
L'importante è tirarla via bene subito perché poi se no secca.
Ma quindi qual è la differenza tra l'impasto di una focaccia e l'impasto del pane?
Perché la focaccia hai meno cicli di lavorazione, però hai più tempo di lievitazione. Il pane invece hai diversi cicli di lavorazione, però la lievitazione è più veloce.
Ok. Quindi è completamente diverso. Diciamo,
Completamente.
considerare la focaccia un tipo di pane?
Assolutamente
No.
Assolutamente.
So you know everybody abroad that calls it focaccia bread. That is absolutely not true.
Oddio, se uno non ha pane si accontenta anche della focaccia mangiando. Perché poi,
Ma infatti
però,
io so qui che a Genova viene mangiata anche a colazione.
Sì, no,
sì?
Colazione,
Wow.
colazione
Ok.
pranzo, cena, snack, pomeridiano, sempre. La focaccia è sempre.
Quindi è un po' come il pane qui, dai. È il pane di Genova. Va? No. È meglio.
È meglio, perché tu prendi un pezzo di focaccia nudo e crudo, tu lo mangi, è saporito, ti soddisfa. Prendi un pezzo di pane, è crudo, se non ci metti in mezzo qualcosa.
So it's a better bread. It's not bread, it's just a better bread. That's it. Ma quanto pesa?
Allora, c'è 26 kg di farina, poi ci sarà un 4 kg di condimento, quindi siamo a 30, più c'è un 16 litri d'acqua.
E quindi da questo impasto quante
Da questo impasto
focacce?
sono 26, 52, 56 focacce più o meno.
Wow. E queste finiranno tutte oggi? Cioè saranno acquistate
Sì, più o
tutte
meno.
oggi?
Più o meno, ma quelle di stamattina ci sono già. E le altre andranno per il pomeriggio.
The end of the kneading of the dough marks the beginning of the first leavening time. This is a quick one, about 10 minutes, after which the dough is going to be split in small batches and put to rest on a wooden board.
Adesso nel tempo 2-3 minuti dobbiamo andare avanti, perché
Ok.
sennò continua questa lievitazione, la pasta prende forza e poi il fornaio diventa matto per stirarla.
Altrimenti
Adesso tra un
si
po'
indurisce.
viene il mio amico, lui pesa, taglia e io le metto sulle tavole. Il peso più o meno è 940 grammi da cruda, che avremo un prodotto finale sui sugli 8 etti all'incirca.
Quindi non si perde molto.
Solitamente si fa delle catene umane a questa maniera.
Ah sì, così vi sbrigate prima.
Vai avanti, Bacca, non ti fermare. Questo è da pesare, Bacca. Di solito questo lavoro qua noi cerchiamo di non arrivare mai nell'ora di punta del negozio a fare questi lavori, perché se bisogna essere in 2 o più di una persona a farlo,
Sì, certo.
il forno rimane scoperto. Bacca, tu sei alto, là in cima io non ci arrivo.
Se non sei alto non ce la fai.
La pasta è molto morbida. Senta, prendi.
Vediamo, wow. Yeah, this is very soft inside. And,
Molto soffice.
And not so hard on the outside actually. Non è molto duro però fuori, cioè si sente proprio che è morbido.
Morbido.
Invece
morbido.
magari ogni tanto l'impasto del pane si sente molto
L'impasto è
che,
molto
che ci sarà una bella crostatura,
Certo,
no?
certo.
So
Anche,
that
questo
is different from bread.
anche questo viene bella croccante, poi tutto sta nella cottura.
This is very elastic. It's very like energetic as well, very firm. When you move them, you can feel both sides. You know, I mean, I'm feeling them in my hands. I don't know how I'm gonna be able to take this off, but so that's really a different dough. Just smells like dough. Dough was spent about 1.5 hours on the wooden boards. This is the second leavening.
La farina serve per non far attaccare la focaccia al telo.
Ok.
E il telo serve per non fargli fare la pelle, per non farla diventare asciutta. Si diventa asciutta, forma una pellicola secca
Ah, ok.
che poi influisce nella lievitazione. Quindi
Ok.
questo
Quindi-
mantiene la sua umidità.
Quindi il telo comunque gioca un ruolo importante.
Certo,
Sì, sì.
certo.
Non è
Mantiene la
solo
sua umidità.
per separare
no,
le
no,
focacce.
assolutamente.
When the waiting time is over, the small batches of dough are stretched on baking trays with a bit of olive oil.
Molto più è lunga la lievitazione, il migliore è il risultato. Ok, adesso entra in gioco la mano del fornaio.
C'è una tecnica particolare.
Sì, bisogna stare attenti a non farla troppo sottile da una parte o troppo alta, e ci vuole manualità. Bisogna farlo tante volte come l'ho fatto io, allora ci riesce bene. È difficile trovare, ma anch'io a volte sbaglio, ma è difficile trovare gente che sappia stirare veramente bene la focaccia, perché la focaccia si stira. Il più dei fornai la pestano, e pestandola ci rompi gli alveoli della pasta e il risultato è completamente diverso.
Possiamo vedere il risultato della lievitazione, quindi delle bolle d'aria.
Dovrei tagliarla, ma comunque non la vede.
Ah, ok.
Non si vede perché, cioè, se io la taglio qua, la segno, poi rimane chiusa.
Ok.
Adesso non lo può vedere.
Sì.
La può vedere da cotta. Da cotta si vedono gli alveoli che formati dall'anidride carbonica.
Quindi sono tutti qui dentro,
È
poi
tutto
si
qui
vedranno
dentro, è tutto qui
più
dentro.
avanti.
Poi ci mettiamo il suo condimento, che è a base di olio d'oliva, extravergine, acqua e sale. È un'emulsione.
Ah, è tutto qui dentro, tutto
un'emulsione,
insieme.
sì.
Ah, ok. Wow.
Senza economia, perché anche se dicono che i genovesi sono tirchi su questo, non lo sono.
Sì, una bella spolverata di olio.
Sì. Si arriva bene da tutte le parti e poi si cominciano a dare le ditate in modo che quando cuoce e quando lievita l'olio si ferma nei buchi, non va da tutte le parti, e poi è il particolare della focaccia, che è dove ci rimane il saporito proprio della focaccia.
Ma quindi proprio questi buchetti che si vedono sulla focaccia finita sono le dita praticamente del
Sì,
fornaio?
sì, sono le dita del fornaio.
Wow.
Nient'altro che le dita del fornaio. E in questi buchi si forma proprio il gusto tipico della focaccia, perché ci rimane il sale, l'olio e l'acqua che te la fa rimanere leggermente bianca, leggermente cruda dentro il forno. È tutta manuale la focaccia. Qualcuno ha provato a farla con dei sistemi meccanizzati, ma non puoi farla così. Fai di tutto tranne che focaccia. Ok, adesso che l'abbiamo stirata, prendiamo il tocco finale, un pizzico, diciamo, di sale grosso a insaporire ulteriormente. Sì, perché la focaccia, se non è salata, ha paura del sale.
No, beh, non porta molta fortuna a buttare il sale.
No. Questo sale porta fortuna.
Questo sale sì, ok.
Bene, adesso queste qua si mettono a riposare, le mettiamo sul carrello.
Ok.
Once stretched, the focaccia will rest for another 2 hours. This is the third and final evening, during which the focaccia soaks up all the flavors of the olive oil seasoning. Then it is cooked for 15 minutes at 230 degrees Celsius. The focaccia comes out of the oven with a golden crust on the outside and soft on the inside.
Deve farla finta? No, devo farla vera. Non la vuole ben cotta? No. Calda.
Calda, sì, dai.
Allora, così basta?
Sì, direi di sì. Ok.
Però poi devi prendere un tovagliolino perché ungerà senz'altro. Per te?
So warm, so nice.
La devi mangiare al contrario.
Oh no.
La parte
Ok.
cotta, perché la parte sapida va sulla lingua e subito si mescolano i gusti.
Qui la si mangia così al
passa.
taglio, cammini per
E
strada.
passa, la vedi? Vai provo, entra dentro, se ne prende un pezzo. Oh, ce l'abbiamo. Questa è per te.
The way you know you're on the right track to making a perfect panettone is if your dough looks like this. Not just bright yellow, but soft and gooey, unlike most of the bread dough.
Panettone is made with an Italian yeast called lievito madre, which literally means mother yeast. It's a very hard yeast to master. You need time and a lot of patience. But here in Milan, the birthplace of panettone, bakers are only allowed to use this yeast and this yeast only. So what else makes Italian panettone so special? We're going to find out.
Lievito madre gives panettone its tangy flavor, but it also makes the baking process much longer. In total, it takes 3 days to make one panettone.
Questo è il nostro lievito madre, che è la base della produzione del panettone.
E perché è così importante il lievito madre?
Perché è quello che ci permette all'impasto di fermentare nel modo corretto, e di durare più a lungo, di sviluppare profumi, aromi e sofficità all'interno del prodotto.
Quanto è vecchio questo lievito madre?
All'incirca 70-80 anni. Quindi è 80 anni che tutti i giorni qualcuno gli dà da mangiare. In questo caso adesso noi la mattina, tutte le mattine, lo andiamo a
C'è una crosticina.
pulire,
Quindi rimuovete questa crosticina.
la parte secca viene rimossa, lo annusiamo per sentire la fermentazione, capire
Si
se
sente?
ha qualche problema e lo assaggiamo. Quindi deve ricordare un po' lo yogurt. Leggermente acido, però non devi sentire...
Abbastanza acido.
È fermentato da 24 ore e noi lo conserviamo in acqua. Ci troviamo molto bene perché l'acqua permette al lievito di rimanere dolce.
This yeast weighs 2.5 kilos. 1 kilo will be used for about 25 kilos of panettone dough. To make panettone, lievito madre needs to be refreshed 3 times with flour and water every 3.5 hours.
Cioè, quanto rende, diciamo, più lunga la produzione di un panettone che già di per sé è molto elaborata?
praticamente hai quasi 7-8 ore in più. Questo ci permette di appunto avere un prodotto che rimane soffice più a lungo.
Quindi quanto stai mettendo?
Allora, in questo momento noi rinfreschiamo una parte di lievito, una parte e virgola 2 di farina e il 40% di acqua sul peso della farina.
Giovanni uses what's called type 0 flour, a finely ground flour that makes panettone soft while keeping it strong and elastic. Temperature is important too. Giovanni is looking for 26 degrees Celsius. The yeast is still a bit cold, so it will need to mix a bit more. When it's ready, Giovanni divides it into 2 parts. One will be used today for the panettone, and the second will continue to age as the original 80-year-old mother yeast. Then it is rolled to smooth it out a bit like croissant dough. In the evening, after the yeast has been refreshed 3 times, it is added to water, sugar, butter and egg yolks to create a panettone base mix. The rest of the ingredients will have to wait for the next day. This is how the base mix looks like the morning after.
Da qua adesso sono più o meno 2 volte e mezza, 3 volte. Se tu senti è profumo di più buoni che io conosca e poi ne assaggiamo sempre un pezzettino.
Buonissimo.
Andiamo a metterlo in macchina con la farina.
The base mixes with the flour for only 10 minutes to gain elasticity.
Adesso, come vedi, questa maglia comincia a formarsi. Non è ancora perfettamente perché vedi che si spacca, però sta cominciando a crearsi.
Once the network has formed, Giovanni proceeds to add all the other ingredients: egg yolks, sugar, a mix of honey, candied orange paste and vanilla, then salt, butter and water. It will mix for 40 minutes.
Puoi vedere?
Non si rompe.
La maglia è più che formata, quindi ci siamo.
The candied oranges, the candied cedar and the sultana raisins go in last, as they're there to add flavor but don't contribute to the texture of the dough.
Vedi come tiene?
Sì.
La frutta
Quindi praticamente
è inglobata.
dovrebbe arrivare fin su senza rompersi.
Sì, dovrebbe esatto, avere
molto
questa struttura elastica.
It rests for 1 hour, then gets split into 25 parts before resting for another hour. Then it has to go through a very important step called pirlatura. This movement gives panettone the strength it will need to grow in the oven.
Questa parola deriva da questo movimento, quindi di
Ok.
pirlare. Quindi andare in giro.
Sì.
Qua ci sono diverse tipologie di pirlatura, quella più classica che mi hanno insegnato proprio all'inizio è questa. Dovrebbe girare sempre sullo stesso asse, no? Un po' come la terra, no? La parte centrale dovrebbe rimanere sempre lì, di modo che poi tutto lo sforzo vada in centro.
The dough is so strong now that it needs a little something to point it to the right direction, which is upward. This is when molds come in, called pirottini in Italian. They used to be made of wicker and were reused, but now they're made of paper. And once the dough is paired with its corresponding pirottino, they are there together for the long haul.
Quindi questi sono fatti appositamente
Per i panettoni.
per i panettoni.
Esatto. Vuoi provarne uno? Allora, praticamente
Vai, cosa che fa?
devi mettere la mano qua.
Sì.
E vai. Non aver paura. Prima una mano e poi l'altra fai. Va bene, dai, vedi che prende forza?
Sì.
Un pochino. Basta.
Eccolo.
Se no
Ok,
si
poi?
strappa. Aspetta.
Vabbè, vedi un po' tu.
Ok. Lo chiudiamo per le eventuali bolle.
Sì. E poi?
Lo mettiamo qua.
Ok.
Ok?
È bella, una bella sensazione sulle mani.
Questa è bella.
Ma quindi tu da quanti anni
I
fai?
primi panettoni che ho visto 15 anni fa.
E quanto tempo secondo te ci vuole per imparare a fare un buon panettone?
Forse adesso comincio a capirci qualcosina.
Addirittura.
Dopo migliaia di panettoni sfornati. Però tuttora ci sono cose che faccio fatica magari a controllare, quindi ci vuoi 20 anni. Cioè 20 anni puoi dire, ok, so cosa vuol dire fare il panettone.
The panettoni have to rest 1 more day in the molds to ferment a bit more. This will give them a softer texture and allow the aromas to really burst through. When the day has passed and the wait is over, there is still one more thing to do.
Ho fatto una crosticina e puoi sentire anche gli odori della fermentazione notturna.
Adesso inizia proprio il sapore.
Con la vaniglia, il miele, la frutta. E andiamo a mettere una noce di burro. Si scioglie e permette appunto di crescere, ok? Se no si cuocerebbe sopra e farebbe più fatica, farebbe da tappo.
Have you ever wondered why panettone has a perfect round shape but an uneven surface? It all has to do with the way it is prepped before going into the oven. This process, when the dough is cut in the shape of a cross, is called scarpatura and is a sign of a true Milanese panettone.
Vuoi farlo?
Ok.
Attenta che taglia, eh? Tienila solo in mezzo.
Questa tecnica, la scarpatura, è qualcosa di veramente tipico, insomma, milanese, del milanese.
Fa sviluppare di più un panettone, però questo è proprio il classico procedimento milanese. Tipico. Burro
Sopra, così.
in mezzo e poi chiudiamo gli angoli. Siamo pronti per il forno? Allora, adesso metto questo qua, è una sonda per vedere la temperatura. Let's go. È un attrezzo da barbecue in realtà, però è comodissimo perché mi dice a che temperatura è il cuore.
The panettone bake for 1 hour at 170 degrees Celsius. As soon as Giovanni and his team churn them out, they are placed in the special pliers and turned upside down. Their dough is very rich, as we've seen so far, so turning them prevents them from collapsing. They will rest upside down for 8 hours to cool down.
Si vede il glutine, no?
Sì, esatto,
insomma,
la
l'aria
struttura
sì.
è...
E quindi questo è, insomma, perché ho usato il lievito madre.
Sì,
Perché
esatto,
è cresciuto.
esatto. Cheers,
Ok.
come si dice, buon Natale.
Buon Natale, sì. Proprio buono.
Si sentono i profumi che sentivamo nell'impasto, no?
Sì. La cosa fantastica è che si sente, cioè comunque è dolce, ma non dà di zucchero, non è zuccheroso,
Sì, non è
pesante.
fastidioso.
È veramente quel dolce leggero, aromatico, dato dai canditi.
La fermentazione e poi la...
Sì.
Esatto.
Ed è distribuito poi su tutta la
Sì.
pasta. E anche ancora un po' umida all'interno, no?
3 giorni di lavorazione proprio perché permette di rimanere soffice.
Wow. Però è un peccato mangiare questo solo a Natale, no? Che dici?
Sì. Dovrebbe
Cioè...
essere il dolce di tutti i giorni, di tutti i milanesi di tutti i giorni.
We're in St. Agnes, Cornwall, and as you can see, I've already got my Cornish pasty right here. It's robust enough not to break, and actually being so portable is the reason why pasties are so beloved here in Cornwall. It was because miners would take them down the mine with them to have for lunch. The times have changed, the mines have closed, but the pasties have stayed. How did they do it? We're here to find out.
The key to keeping a pasty together when it's filled to the brim is all about the pastry itself. This type of pastry is neither puff nor short crust. It's called rough crust. Made with flour, lard, butter, salt, and water, rough crust is kind of the best of both worlds. This pastry has a slight flakiness to it, which makes it more flexible than short crust. But since the butter and the dough are mixed together and not laminated, there aren't as many delicate layers as in a puff pastry. But don't worry, I didn't say we wouldn't get any layers at all. Some will still be there. This is because fresh dough is folded over with leftover pastry from the day before to create some air.
So you see there how the pastry's getting thinner, and we'll go back and forward until we get the right thickness.
Which is about this one.
Yes, for the pasty rounds themselves. So you create the folds in the pastry to create some air in the process to give that rough puff texture. We don't want to go to a full puff pastry because it wouldn't hold the contents very well, but just to make the pastry a bit lighter than a short crust pastry,
because that will break.
which can feel very hard.
Is that like a custom tool that you have?
I will not tell you the code to the safe where this goes, because without this we can't make pasties. This is a 7.5-inch pasty ring.
Okay.
This is a medium pasty.
And what you got it like handmade, just custom made?
Yes,
for
yes.
you?
And this is the large pasty ring. That's a 9-inch pasty ring.
Okay.
Yeah.
It looks like a tool you will use in an Olympic sport. What's
It,
that
it, it
sport?
could. Yes, it could. Yes, it could be curling, couldn't
Curling,
it? Yeah.
curling. Is it sharp?
Not
No.
particularly. We have had this one sharpened recently.
The person who sharpens this is somebody you trust.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
you have to give this away.
Yes. So yes, that's right. He has to sign for it.
Our robust but flaky rough crust is ready to mate with its other half, the filling.
We use a very scientific measuring device called a cup.
All of the fillings are humble ingredients like potatoes and onions, and their usage goes hand in hand with the humble origins of the Cornish pasty itself. Each ingredient is also there to aid the portable nature of the pasty. Potatoes are waxy and keep their shape when baked. Swede, or turnip in Cornish, adds sweetness. I'm told using carrots is sacrilege. Onions and seasoning add flavor, and beef and butter provide the juices to create a nice gravy, as they say around here. At St. Agnes Bakery, they use a cut of beef called rump skirt.
Rump skirt is the quality end of the skirt part of the animal. There's only a few kilograms per carcass. It's about twice the cost of the ordinary skirt, but what you get is a much more luxurious product. It's a lot leaner, it's a lot juicer, it's less gristly. And earlier you did mention the M word. We do not use mincemeat. That mincemeat, that have people who've not got out of the building alive for using the M word.
Right, bye, I'm leaving now.
You may have noticed that ingredients are all added raw. This is a rule when making Cornish pasty. Why? Because they will cook all together in their own juices when the pasty is baked. And since the rough crust will hold them tight, nothing will get out until you give a bite. It's almost time to close the pasties, and there is a specific technique to do it. It's called crimping. Each crimper seals the edges of the pasty by pinching it at one side. Tradition calls for 20 crimps.
Each crimper's style is different. Each crimper's different. And when we cook in the pastries, you can sort of tell, oh, that's a Jenny crimp, that's a Rebecca's crimp. Yeah. And also there's a difference between the right and left-handed people, because the right-handed people end up crimping on the left. The left-handed people end on the right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you're right-handed.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And they all have a different style for ending the pasties too.
That's where I come in. No crimping experience whatsoever, only walking in knowing that I'm right-handed. What's my style going to be?
Take the ends.
Both ends.
Yeah.
Oh, that's loaded. God, there's a lot of stuff
It's
in.
okay. And then
Just try and close it.
close the other end, yeah.
Okay. Oh God, it's falling
It's
off
all
the
right,
side.
It's okay. Just hold it up. Pull it over,
Yeah.
and then you keep pulling it over as you go along.
God. All right. So like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
That looks nice, actually. It's better than mine.
Oh. Who would have said?
And then you just keep going.
Oh yeah,
and
that's not
pulling it
looking that
over.
as nice. Okay. You're not saying anything. So it means I'm not doing it right.
No, it's fine.
Oh.
It's just we do it that way, and you're kind of doing it backwards
Really? Okay.
because we stand like this. That's it.
Oh, okay. I always start off well, and then I kind of just get lost along the way. It's all right. So he has different personalities. I'm gonna pose with my honorable creation. So why do you do a side crimp then?
So the original Cornish pasty, like back in the many, many years ago, when the
Hundreds of
miners
years
were
ago.
working in the mines,
Yeah.
was half sweet,
Oh.
maybe jam, and half veg.
Oh, that's interesting.
So
Yeah.
they used to take them down the mines with them, and because the hands were dirty, they would hold this
They
to
hold the
eat
crimp.
pasty,
Yeah.
and then leave
Oh.
that bit.
Nice and crimped, the pasties are finished with a glaze of oat milk and cow's milk for extra crunch. Cornish pasties bake slowly for about 1 hour to maximize the flavors coming together.
The bakery's been here since 1907, and there's actually 2 mine shafts directly under the bakery building itself.
Oh, really? Wow.
So it's not.
So it has been built on top of the
Yes, it's been built on top of 2 mine shafts.
Oh. All right, should we have a go?
Okay. Cheers to you.
tasted.
Whichever way fits in your mouth. As they used to say before they called the men who were working in the mines to let them know the pasties were ready, oggy, oggy, oggy.
I really like this pastry. It's nice and soft actually on the inside, but flaky on the outside.
That's right.
Yeah. Nice little hint of pepper there. The meat is very good. Yeah, that definitely doesn't taste like the N word. No. Doesn't taste like mincemeat.
No, we don't use the N word.
How long would you wait to eat them?
Personally, I prefer a pasty that's been out of the oven for about 45 minutes.
Yeah?
They'll stay warm for ages, and I like it so there's just a bit of warmth coming through, not too hot. You get all the flavour and the depth of the flavour then. So when you take your pasty, make sure it's been out of the oven for about 45 minutes.
We're in Bari, Italy, my hometown, and today I'm going to take you to a local bakery to try some focaccia bread. I know what you're thinking, haven't you done a video on focaccia already? Well, kind of, but what in the northern regions is a savory bread with olive oil. Here in the southern regions it's got, well actually here we're not shy on ingredients. We got olive oil, but we also got tomatoes, we got oregano, we got olives, we got more olive oil. So can't wait to try it. Let's go and see how it's made. Today we're going to visit Panificio Fiore, a local bakery that's been churning fresh focaccia every day for over a century. The bakery is just a few steps away from the city's Basilica di San Nicola, an important destination for pilgrims all over the world. For those foodies exploring the old town on another kind of pilgrimage, a slice of focaccia here will cost you only €1 and will for sure open the doors of heaven. P.S. The bakery is actually located in a deconsecrated 13th century Byzantine chapel.
Siamo centrali vicino alla Basilica di San Nicola. Io sono una terza generazione. Quindi ci conoscono, penso, dappertutto. Mio nonno, mio padre, e adesso ci sono io.
Ed è sempre stato questo?
Sempre stato quello, non è stato cambiato niente. Il forte è quello della guerra e tiriamo avanti ancora le tradizioni di una volta.
Focaccia at Panificio Fiore is made with a combination of semolina and with flour.
Oh, questa è la massa già pronta per la focaccia, iniziamo la lavorazione.
Quali sono gli ingredienti?
Acqua, sale, lievito di birra, lievito madre, zucchero e malto.
Ok, e quanto tempo fa l'hai preparata?
Questa un'oretta fa l'ho preparata.
Un'oretta fa. E quindi adesso l'hai lasciata qui a riposare,
sì, a riposare
per un'oretta?
per un'oretta. Ora iniziamo a fare la procedura per la focaccia.
Va bene. E questi quanti chili sono di impasto?
Questa è una ventina di chili.
E quante focacce ne usciranno più o meno?
Una ventina.
Una ventina, ok.
Sono da chilo.
Perfetto, sì.
When the leavening time is over, the next step is to split the dough into small portions, which will in turn have to rest again for some time.
Per quanto tempo lievitano i
Adesso dipende sempre dal clima e il periodo. Mo stiamo in estate, che qui sono almeno 80 gradi, questo in un quarto d'ora già lievita.
Davvero?
Eh sì, perché il caldo chiaramente
invece...
porta alla fermentazione.
Sì. E invece in inverno quanto tempo ci mettono?
In inverno devi calcolare almeno un'oretta.
Un'oretta?
Un'oretta qui, questa lievitazione, e poi abbiamo l'altra lievitazione.
Ah, ce ne sono 3? Sì, quindi ogni passo, man mano la pasta viene divisa, sì. E quindi si aspetta.
Sì, sì.
Ma voi non controllate qui la climatizzazione?
Sì che la controlliamo.
Sì?
Oggi sono 72 gradi.
Qua dentro, adesso?
Lì non lo sente?
Sì, lo sento, però non mi aspettavo, sono 70. Mamma mia.
Perché abbiamo un forno di quasi 20 metri e chiaramente lì sono 350 gradi, immagina fuori.
Sì, quindi il forno occupa praticamente, non so,
una stanza
quasi
intera,
tutto il e poi riscalda tutto.
Chiaramente, sì. Ma l'inverno si sta da Dio.
Ovviamente.
Ma d'estate devi soffrire.
15 minutes later, the dough has fermented and is stretched onto these round baking trays, ready to be seasoned.
Vedo dei pomodori, adesso comincia a essere focaccia barese,
allora, questi
no?
sono i pomodori dove iniziamo a schiacciarli per fare il condimento della focaccia.
Che tipo di pomodori?
Questo oggi è il San Marzano, perché
oggi,
noi siamo a periodi. a volte arriva il samarzano, dipende dal periodo che stanno i pomodori.
Ah, giustamente,
Se siamo in
sì.
estate usiamo il samarzano.
Quindi non c'è un pomodoro
Che
migliore per
questo
la
qui,
focaccia.
ve lo faccio vedere, eccolo qua, un bel samarzano.
Sono
Ok.
grandissimi.
Questi sono di Foggia.
Beh, i
Allora,
pomodori belli
iniziamo
grossi.
a fare la focaccia. Adesso
Olio alla
vedi
base.
sta già lievitata.
Ma perché la focaccia barese è tonda?
È sempre stata così, la tonda per allargarla nella teglia, perché se non la fai tonda, la fai quadrata, comunque gli devi dare una base che si allarga.
Però la caratteristica è che
Sì,
viene fatta
essere
sempre
tonda, sì.
tonda, perché poi esce la ruota di focaccia.
Bravi. E questi sono delle teglie che vengono fatte a mano dagli artigiani che no, stanno scomparendo, è difficile trovarli. Sono di latta,
Di latta.
non di ferro, perché questa è proprio la classica teglia per la focaccia. Allora adesso iniziamo a condirla.
Queste teglie voi da quanti anni ce l'avete? Anche queste sono di terza generazione.
No, questi dopo un anno li devi buttare perché si bruciano.
Ah sì.
Ma chiaramente non è mica eterna. E questi abbiamo un artigiano che grazie a Dio vive ancora di Molfetta. Quindi ce ne facciamo fare tipo un migliaio e ce li teniamo.
Lui li fa solamente per voi, non è...
Sì, perché ormai non ce ne stanno più queste persone. Gli
Quindi-
artigiani sono scomparsi tutti.
Quindi è tutto fatto a mano.
Tutto fatto a mano.
La focaccia ma anche la teglia proprio.
Allora iniziamo
Qui viene
a
cotta.
fare la focaccia.
Ma più o meno c'è insomma tu vai ad occhio per quanto riguarda gli ingredienti.
Ma ormai
Oh.
sì, no?
E si mettono tutti a crudo.
Eh sì, normale, poi c'è la cottura.
Vengono cotti tutti insieme.
After tomatoes, Antonio flavors each wheel with olives, salt and oregano.
Quindi queste adesso sono pronte per essere
Queste mo
infornate.
devono lievitare un po'.
Ah, lievitano con
Sì.
tutti gli ingredienti. Per quanto tempo?
Adesso un quarto d'ora di lievitazione con questa temperatura e poi li mettiamo in forno.
Here we go. Another 15 minutes have passed and the focaccia has soaked up all the flavors of the seasoning. Now it's time to cook it in the bakery's 120-year-old wood-fired oven.
Questo forno è enorme. Wow, wow, bellissima. Ma qui fa caldissimo comunque.
Fa caldo.
Incredibile. Ma perché avete questa pala lunghissima?
E non vedi il forno quant'è? Come deve arrivare dietro?
Sì,
sono
quanti
8
metri
metri.
sono? 8 metri. Ma come mai è in lungo, diciamo, e non in
Prima
altezza?
anticamente li
Si
facevano
faceva
così.
per forza così. Ma quindi sopra e sotto?
Sopra, là e
Cioè-
sotto c'è l'altra camera, uguale a quella.
Ah, quindi tutta la stanza proprio piena di
È
focacce.
normale che fa
praticamente.
questo caldo.
Ah, ho capito. Ma questa cosa è pericolosissima, comunque dovete stare attenti.
Noi siamo abituati, abbiamo tutti i metri calcolati.
Eh sì, e quanto è lunga questa pala?
Questo è 4 metri.
4 metri, caspita. E invece questa è la focaccia pronta. Che cosa ti suggerisce che è pronta quando la
Quando
vedi?
c'è la crosta attorno attorno, è cucinata bene.
So what is the best way to eat focaccia? Well, actually, there are many. What I like to do is just come in here by the seaside, sit here and have my piece of focaccia with a beer sometimes, depends on the time of the day. So you see, this one has been made just around the corner at the bakery. Look at the oil, so good. Wow. Oh my goodness. It's so good. It's so oily, but in a good way. So fluffy inside, and the tomatoes are just incredible. I just love all the flavors all together. You got the acidity of the olive and the oily texture, and the tomatoes add that extra creaminess, and then you got the dough, which is nice and fluffy. This is the best feeling ever, sitting here by the seaside, having a piece of focaccia. It's so good. Hello, today we're in Enfield in London to find out how traditional crumpets are made. And for those of you who don't know, crumpets are a very British thing. They are similar to toast, similar to pancakes, similar to bread, but they're neither bread, neither pancakes. So today we're at Warburton's, which is UK's largest crumpet producer. Imagine, in Enfield alone, they make 36,000 crumpets per hour. British crumpets. So what are they exactly, and how did they become so popular within British cuisine? It is said that crumpets originated in the Anglo-Saxon period during 410 and 1066, and they were originally known as pikelets. They were small, hard, oval-shaped biscuits cooked on a griddle and had a pancake-like appearance. During the Victorian era, the recipe was altered to include yeast and bicarbonate soda to give them a soft, spongy look. What about its name? Its origins are unclear, but there are a few suggestions saying it may have come from a 14th century reference to a crumpet cake, which was a crumpled and curd-up cake, and the Old English word crumpet, which also means crumpled.
Warburton's is a business. We were founded back in 1876 in Bolton, and over the last 140 years we have grown and grown from a local business to a regional business to now a national business to be the #1 bread brand in the UK. Within British culture, the crumpets played a really important part because it is a staple of a British diet effectively. We see it traditionally over the years. It's always been a breakfast accompaniment, so rather than toast people would have crumpets with jam, but we've seen that evolve as well, and over the years people now are starting eating crumpets with ham and cheese on top, and it's become more of a meal accompaniment. So the process of actually making a crumpet is quite complicated and technical, but very simple in its approach. So we take our raw material, so flour, water, yeast, a little bit of brine. But what we then do is we need to activate the yeast. So the mixing process will generate a bit of heat and start to get the batter warming up to around 40 degrees. At that point, the yeast starts to activate. And part of that process is that the yeast will start to consume the sugars that are present in flour. And as they're consuming the sugar, they're actually, as a byproduct, releasing carbon dioxide. That's the magic. We then take that and deposit it onto a hot plate. So the hot plate runs at about 200 degrees, and we deposit fixed amounts of batter into the rings. As the batter hits the hot plate, it will set the base of the crumpet. But as the heat then starts to go through the base, it starts to heat the water and boil the water, and the water turns to steam. And as the water and the crumpet and the heat's going through the batter, we're actually expanding the CO2 bubbles. So what happens then is as the bubbles expand and the steam is looking for the easiest way out, it's pushing the CO2 up through the batter. As that comes through the batter, it's actually setting the walls of the hole. So when the gas is released, that's how we form the holes in a crumpet.
The surfaces of the crumpets are then toasted for around 20 seconds to give them the finishing touch. What you may find interesting is that the crumpet doesn't need to be toasted at all, as Warburton's told us that it's solely for aesthetics, as the crumpets are already cooked. Once toasted, the crumpets then go on to be cooled in 3 separate rooms, each with varying temperatures.
First starting at 18 degrees Celsius, 15 degrees and then 10 degrees. After being cooled, a system scans the crumpets, inspecting each one for their color, porosity and consistency in shape. The crumpets highlighted in this green border signify that they are good and ready for packaging. This row here, without the green border, this means that they're not quite up to the standards for Warburtons, so they're taken off the line. These custom-made robotics are capable of picking up 86 crumpets a minute, sending each one onto the final stage of the process, packaging.
So we got a packet of crumpets straight off the line. I'm actually very excited about this because despite having lived in the UK for more than 7 years now, I've actually never had a crumpet in my life. I know it's a disgrace, so I'm gonna make up for it and give it a try. Nice. I love how it's very crusty in here. Like the bottom has a very strong and solid crust, and the top is like spongy, soft. I would say you almost get two flavors. You get the savory crust of the bottom side, and then like a more sweet taste of the spongy top side. It's very nice. I love how the butter is like completely disappeared into the holes, which means that when you bite into it, you actually get the buttery taste in there. The texture it's nice and spongy, it's cakey. And yeah, it's just a nice discovery for me. I wish I had known about crumpets before. Like, where were my British friends when I needed them? Guys, I had to know about this 7 years ago.
From a production perspective, when I look at crumpet plants, we've got 3 crumpet plants, and on average we produce 36,000 crumpets an hour, which equates to about 6,000 packets of 6-pack crumpets. So when you look across a week, that's equivalent to about 800,000 packets coming out of our Enfield site alone every week. So in order to make 800,000 packets of crumpets a year, we have to have a shift pattern that's robust enough to facilitate that, and we run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We have four shifts that operate 12-hour shifts across the 7 days of the week. We only shut as a business on Christmas Day. So we are actually producing products 364 days of the year to make sure that our customers always get what they want.
You'll find these custard tarts in pretty much every bakery in Portugal. Pasteis de Nata are beloved in Portugal the same way croissants are in France. And while tons of bakeries around the country make Pasteis de Nata, the original version is made using a 100-year-old secret recipe.
So how did these tiny tarts become such a big deal here in Portugal? Well, the answer is right here, at the Monastery of Geronimus. It is here that their story began, because monks used to be the very first people to make the tarts. But thankfully for us, the recipe didn't stay locked in the monastery with them. A bakery nearby inherited it. And 6 generations later, it's still there.
The pastéis you find all around Portugal are called Pasteis de Nata, but at this bakery they're called Pasteis de Belém. Belém refers to this neighborhood where the tarts were invented, and no other bakery is allowed to use this name for its sweets. There are 2 reasons why the pastéis at this bakery stand out. The first one is their pastry, extremely flaky, slightly salty and with a signature crunch. The second is their egg custard, more delicate, light and not too sweet, which make these an ideal snack for any time of the day. To preserve the ancient recipe it inherited from the monastery, the Lisbon bakery keeps its pastry and custard recipes secret.
This is the secret part of the recipe, that it's made inside. Only 4 people work with the recipe. These are 4 people that we trust very much and that do this amazing work every day.
So how many people in total know the recipe? Like in here, but I guess in the world?
In 7.
From here, we don't know exactly what happened, but we can see that the dough is pretty wet. This is because of the egg yolks.
You can guess.
And then this dough will then be turned into like little pastéis.
Yes.
Okay, let's go see.
Yeah. We do it all with our hands. That is a big part of the secret.
When she goes in there and cuts it, inside you can see the little layers.
You see outside when it's cooked, you see them separated.
Still, I imagine there's still a lot of work with the dough. You have to create your layers and alternate and laminate with the butter. It's just a testament of what is happening in that little secret room. And how many pastéis would you get out of one piece of dough like this?
Luísa, quantos pastéis é que dá cada rolo? Não sabe?
Pastéis tabuleiros, 60 por 60 são 120 e 80. Pastéis tabuleiros deste, 60, não dá um rolo?
Dá 3 tabuleiros de 60? Ok, 180, 180.
After being stretched, the little pieces of dough are placed in individual molds. Luisa and her colleagues go through over 22,000 of these a day.
In this room, it's only about like shaping the dough. Wow. Okay, so they must have very strong thumbs here.
Yeah.
So you just move it like this, yeah? Press it.
And then bring it out.
Bring it out. Because basically what you want to do is not having too thick. If you don't know what like you're trying to get, you know, if you don't know how thick the dough is to start, you can't just go in and be like, but yeah, there's lots of batter.
Time to wash those buttery hands and try to reveal another secret, the egg custard. We don't know for sure, but during my research, a lot of sources mentioned how this custard is made with milk, not cream, to make for a lighter and less sweet custard, which is meant to better complement the salty flavors of the pastry.
But we know that there are egg yolks inside, right? This is not a secret.
Yes, I can tell you that. Yes, actually, not only the pastéis, but many sweets that are made in Portugal have egg yolks, because in the convents, the nuns used the egg white to iron their suits and left the egg yolk and then use it to bake sweets. The monastery were not, as we think now, a place where people were only praying. Actually, they were places of commerce. Here in Belém, we had the caravels that came from the Brazil, and it was really full of people.
So, what do you think? Is it the pastry dough or perhaps the egg custard that makes the tarts different from the rest? Penelope told me the way to get this caramelized look is to bake the tarts in the oven at 400 degrees Celsius for about 20 minutes.
And the pastéis are getting married. They put they put the two together, and they are ready for living.
Okay, so why do you do that? Why do you put one on top of the other?
Because they protect each other, and together they are stronger.
Okay, I see. And then when you go and sell them, though, you have to
No,
separate.
they go together.
Oh, they always go together.
Well, unless you have only one.
And just like you would join a married couple at the reception, I can't help but join the two pastéis in the bakery's cafe for a little tasting session.
Finally, we got to this part, which is the best part.
Of course,
okay.
It's always the best part.
And so now the pastéis go with the cinnamon that came from in the caravels, and then sprinkle with a little bit of sugar, and now they are ready to eat.
So you don't put any lemon or no?
No, no lemon.
So crunchy. It's actually very delicate as well. Yep. I really love the cream. We were saying the egg yolks and there's lots of eggs, so you would expect heavy cream, you know. But this is amazing because it's very, very delicate. Lots of layers.
We know when the pastel is good by the sound of it. They are not very sweet, they are very balanced and have the salty of the outside and then the sweet from the inside.
So these two pastéis, they were married and now they,
Yeah,
so
they are
you have to have
divorced.
another one.
Tossing dough like this is the key to getting authentic Greek phyllo pastry incredibly thin. But this is only one of the challenges of making phyllo.
Phyllo means leaf in Greek, and well, the name couldn't be more accurate. These thin layers are achieved by a very complex lamination that involves not only a fat, like butter or margarine, but also oil. The oil gives extra slip and makes the pastry incredibly difficult to stretch. So difficult that most bakers have given up making phyllo by hand. We're in Thessaloniki and we're about to meet with Phyllo Pastry. He's one of only a few artisans left still making phyllo by hand. This is his shop. Let's walk in.
Phyllo makes his phyllo using water, a soft semolina flour with strong gluten, salt, vegetable oil and margarine.
It makes our phyllo more crunchy and light to the taste.
To be strong enough to be tossed in the air, the dough needs to be mixed for 20 minutes and then be mixed again with more oil and margarine.
So how is this dough different from like other types of dough that have like a lot of layers, like for example croissant or
Yes,
other
it's, you cannot say that they have something in common. It's completely different.
Okay.
Because we don't make layers of butter dough. The layers are from the folding.
Yeah.
But we make here.
Yeah, you can smell a little bit the oil and the margarine.
After mixing, the dough rests for another 20 minutes on the counter. Here, Phyllo is cutting it in small pieces of 250 grams each that will then be rolled into a bowl.
Like a
Perfect bowl.
We leave them to rest again for 20 minutes with our oil on it. It will make a crust over there if we don't put the oil, and we don't want that.
After the 20-minute rest, Phyllo uses his palms to press the dough, and not his fingers as they would create unwanted holes. Then, guess what? We have to wait another 20 minutes. It may sound like a lot of breaks, but this method is actually speeding things up. If the dough was kept as a whole, it would need much longer periods of rest.
Now, margarine inside.
Ooh.
Everywhere, and
this
we
one was
put them together. Okay, this will help us make the lamination, the layers.
Mm-hmm.
This will separate the
dough.
Yeah, the dough.
We wait 20 minutes again, and then the dough is ready to be tossed in the air.
Can you go a step back? Thank you very much.
Despite its theatricality, this technique is not for show. It's used to evenly spread the fat in the dough and to avoid any lumps. And again, it's a faster and more effective way than any rolling pin could possibly be. So, should I give it a try? Tossing out phyllo in the air reminded me a bit of tossing pizza dough. It made me feel a little bit closer to home, although I have a feeling that it won't be very useful today.
One hand like that.
Yep.
Okay. And the other hand like that, here. No. Take it
like
that? Yeah.
Okay.
Now, there and there.
Oof, like that.
Here. No.
No.
This side stays up. Okay.
Yeah.
You will not.
Ah, okay,
Yeah.
I see. Yeah.
Take that. The finger
here. So
here.
I see. So you don't want to flip it. It's
No,
just
no,
really
no.
to give it a little bit
A
of
little bit and that.
air.
Good. Very good.
Ah.
Bravo.
Why is it that it doesn't break?
It was all this preparation we make and the flour that, as I told you, it's strong.
Yeah.
It have a strong gluten.
Wow, my God, look, you
Yeah.
can see your hand.
Ready now. If you can see your head, it's ready.
Yeah, it feels very thin but strong. I don't really want to dare touching it more because I'm really scared. I'm going to break
you
it.
can try later.
Yeah. So is the cold also why
Of
why it
course,
stays
yes.
like that?
We don't want the dough to be hot because it will break
And what's the most common mistake when you do this?
these edges. You need a lot of practice and experience to make them thin as in the center of the fold. All this phyllo must be the same everywhere. This is the more difficult part. Of course, you must not have holes.
Okay, that's, I think I touched there, sorry.
It's a problem that for many of us, the holes.
If you don't take into account my awkward toasting technique, the right technique might still give you some holes. This can be because of the wrong preparation of the dough or the wrong temperature, especially in the summer months. In Greece, Phyllo pastry is always paired with a pie, and often the making process changes depending on which pie it is. The one Philippos is making is specific to Bougatsa, a popular breakfast pie in Thessaloniki and northern Greece. Bougatsa phyllo is one of the most complicated to make because it has to be stretched and tossed in the air as a full large sheet, whereas other pies can be stretched in individual portions. Bougatsa has been around for centuries, from the times of the Byzantine Empire. In fact, Philippos tells me that both his family and the pie came from modern-day Greece, from Cappadocia, Turkey.
My grandfather came as a refugee here in 1922 and brought all the recipes that we continue to make them. This is my father, the year that opened this store in 1969. This is how they used to sell bougatsa in the streets. This photo is in Constantinopolis, in Istanbul.
The way you make phyllo is different depending on where you are in Greece.
Yes, we have some difference. The most popular breakfast is in North Greece, this bougatsa. Here in Thessaloniki, we try to make more crunch, the phyllo. And in Ceres, the other town, they make the phyllo more soft. Okay. It's a little different.
The giant phyllo sheet is cut in the middle and covered with more oil and margarine. Philippos then fills it with a sweet cream that he and his team make in the shop. The cream is added at room temperature, otherwise it would break the phyllo. It's now time to fold the phyllo. Each folded side has 4 layers, so there are 16 in this half. The first folded half with the cream filling goes inside the unfolded half, which creates 32 layers in total for a bougatsa.
Yeah, the dough looks super moist and humid. There's a little bit of air.
We want the air inside. Yeah? It will help us to cook better inside the bougatsa.
Apart from sweet cream bougatsa, you can also enjoy it as a savory pie with local cheese, spinach or meat.
The people that make bougatsa, year by the year, less and less and less and less, and this art will disappear. And it's a pity. It's another kind of food, the bougatsa with the machines. So I want to show the young people that it's a beautiful job and it's a nice art.
The pie rests in the fridge for 24 hours so all the flavors can come together and for maximum crunch. To achieve a golden crust, it cooks for 30 minutes at 180 degrees Celsius. One bougatsa makes 4 portions. Traditionally, each portion is then cut in 10 small pieces. As the pie is traditionally eaten for breakfast, in Thessaloniki, bougatsa with sweet cream is often enjoyed with a glass of chocolate milk.
You can see the layers from here, over there, all these.
Yes, they're over here.
Yeah.
How many do we put? 32, you said?
Yes, 32. It's very simple cream, but the ingredients are all first quality, and around Thessaloniki, local.
Also the crunch is not like an aggressive crunch. It's not oily, it's light. Wow, it's very nice.
It's very good.
La coppia viene fatta con 2 pastelle, poi unite, messe insieme, attaccate, ed è una coppia come può essere una coppia di amanti, marito e moglie, è lo stesso. Facciamo 5 tipi di coppie, di varie dimensioni, piccoline, un po' più grandi per i ristoranti, la media normale per la clientela, poi c'è la coppia lunga per quelli che vogliono il pane più croccante, più cotto meglio, eccetera. Noi ancora lo facciamo alla vecchia maniera, ancora con la pasta madre che ha 80 anni e viene rinfrescata 3 volte al giorno.